The 2025 IMSA Sports Car Championship kicks off Saturday, January 26th in Daytona Beach, Florida for the 63rd running of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. The 2025 season will take place across 11 rounds. The 2025 calendar is a complete copy of the 2024 calendar. Daytona will see major track changes to the backstretch chicane with an all-paved runoff and higher, more aggressive curbs. After Daytona, the series will go raceless in February, but will stay in Florida for round 2, this time going to Sebring for the 12 Hours of Sebring. In April, IMSA packs up and heads west to the streets of Long Beach. This will mark the first doubleheader with IndyCar and the first street track on the calendar. Long Beach is the first race to not feature all classes, with only GTP and GTD making the trip. IMSA kicks off May by staying in California but going north to Laguna Seca. GTP and GTD will be joined by GTD Pro this time around. May will also mark the first of 2 months with 2 races as IMSA travels to the Motor City and the streets of Detroit on May 31st. Once again joining IndyCar for IMSA's second and final street race, and only GTP and GTD Pro will be in Detroit. On June 22nd, IMSA will travel to New York with all 3 series taking on Watkins Glen for the 6 Hours of the Glen. In July, IMSA will go international as they travel to the north for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for a 2-hour and 40-minute race. However, GTP will not be making the trip north. August will feature 2 races this month, starting out with the series traveling to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, with all classes participating in the 2-hour and 40-minute race around Road America. IMSA's second race in August will consist exclusively of GT cars around Virginia International Raceway. IMSA's penultimate race will take place at the Brickyard for a 6-hour battle on the bricks on September 11th. The season will conclude on October 11th with the annual 10-hour Petite Le Mans at Road Atlanta. Okay, so now for a look at the teams and drivers. These are based off the 24 Hours of Daytona entry list. These are subject to change throughout the season with driver changes or some teams do not participate in certain events. The big absence this year is Chip Ganassi Racing, having previously run the Works Cadillac program. Also absent from Daytona is Aston Martin with the Heart of Racing team in GTP. With Aston's new Valkyrie Le Mans hypercar, Aston Martin is planned to join the series later this year, but is skipping Daytona to complete further testing. The Valkyrie is set to debut on February 21st at the FIA World Endurance Championship opening round in Qatar. Driver lineup is still to be announced. Proton will only return 1 driver from last year's 24-hour race. Porsche Penske will field 2 cars again, but they are reducing their driver lineup from 4 drivers down to 3. All drivers were with Penske last year. Wayne Taylor Racing makes a switch back to Cadillac from Acura, filling the place left by Ganassi. Wayne Taylor Racing will field 2 cars. One of the main driving forces behind the change from Acura to Cadillac is for Wayne Taylor Racing to go racing at Le Mans. BMW continues their partnership with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing and returns 3 of their drivers for their 2 cars. Action Express continues their partnership with Whelen and Cadillac. They will field a 4-driver lineup after previously fielding 3 in 2024. Jack Aitken is the only returning driver for the 31 Cadillac. Meyer Shank Racing returns to IMSA with 2 Acura-backed entries, filling the gap left by Wayne Taylor's move to Cadillac. These 2 entries will be the 60 Acura and the 93. Automobili Lamborghini Squadra Corsa will field Lamborghinis only GTP entry with the number 63. Roman Grosjean is the only returning member of that lineup, and they are increasing from a 3-driver lineup to a 4-driver lineup. JDC Miller will field the 85 Porsche. Tijmen Vanderhelm is a sole returning member of the 85 lineup. With the JDC Miller Porsche, that is Porsche's 4th GTP entry, which is the most of any manufacturer. Now we're going to move on to the LMP2 class. All cars entered are the Oreca 07, as has become the usual with the LMP2 class. CrowdStrike will return 3 of their 4 drivers, with Colton Herta joining the team, replacing Colin Braun. United Autosports is the only team with 2 entries in LMP2, fielding the 2 and the 22. Ben Hanley, Paul DeResta, and Dan Goldberg are returning to United Autosport. Tower Motorsports will field the 8 LMP2, returning 2 of their drivers from 2024. TDS Racing will field the number 11 and return their entire lineup. The number 18 is fielded by Era Motorsports, and only Ryan Daziel returns. Inter Europool Competition will field the 43 this year after previously running the 52 last year. Tom Dillman is the only driver returning to the Polish team. PR1 Matheson Motorsports returns to the LMP2 ranks after not fielding an entry in 2024. Pratt Miller Motorsports expands operations and will field their first ever prototype entry with the number 73 Oreca LMP2. Riley returns with their 74 entry, and all 4 drivers also return. AF Corsa is fielding the 88 LMP2, returning 4 of their drivers from last year. Dylan Murray did not participate last year at Daytona with the team, though. AO Racing rounds out the LMP2 class with the 99 entry. PJ Hyatt is the sole return to the 99. Next up is the GTD Pro Class. Heart of Racing team will be fielding only 1 entry this year, and that is the 007 Aston Martin. Roman De Angelis and Marco Sarensen return, with Ross Gunn and Alex Raberza moving over from last year's second car to drive the 007. Paul Miller expands from 1 car to 2 by adding the 48 BMW. In addition to the 1, the American duo of Neil Verhagen and Madison Snow will return to the 1. Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller, like 2024, will field 2 cars, the 3 and the 4. They will return 5 of their 6 drivers, with Nico Varun being the newcomer, replacing Earl Bamber, who left for Action Express and GTP. Plath Motorsports will run the number 9 Lamborghini, making the move from McLaren. James Hinchcliffe is the only returning driver to the Canadian team. Vassar Sullivan will continue their relationship with Lexus with the 14 Lexus RCF GT3, with Ben Barnico and Kyle Kirkwood returning, joining newcomers Townsend Bell and Aaron Tellitz. Proton will once again field a GTD car, but instead of a Ford, it's a Porsche this year, and they move up from GTDE to GTD Pro. With the manufacturer switch comes a whole new driver lineup for 2025. Ford Multimatic Motorsports will once again feature 2 entries with the 64 and the 65. Mike Rockenfeller, Christopher Mize, and Frederick Vervish return. NASCAR driver Austin Cindric will join them for Daytona in replace of Ben Barker, who is injured. Get Speed will field a Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo numbered 69. Get Speed has previously competed in GT World Challenge Series, and this will be their first 24 hours of Daytona. 75 Energy will field the 75 Mercedes. This appears to be a rebrand of Sun Energy 1 Racing, who have regularly competed over the last several years in the 24 hours of Daytona. AO Racing will opt for a 3-driver lineup in the 77 Porsche. Klaus Beckler and Lauren Heinrich return. Joining them is Alessio Picarello. Dragon Speed will field the first and only Ferrari in GTD Pro, with their 81 entry having run last year in the 82. Dragon Speed will expand their lineup from 3 drivers to 4, with Thomas Neubauer the only returning driver. Trackhouse with TF Sport will field the 91 Corvette for Daytona, with Shane Van Gisbergen, Ben Keating, Scott McLaughlin, and Connor Zilich. The last class now is GTD. Trianzi Competizione will field 2 Ferraris, the 021 and the 023. Last year they only had 1 entry. Eddie Cheever III is a newcomer on the 023, and the other 3 are returning. The 4 drivers for the 021 are all new to Trianzi. Just like in GTD Pro, Vassar Sullivan will field the only Lexus in GTD. Jack Hawksworth, Frankie Montecalvo, and Parker Thompson will all return, with Kyle Kirkwood moving down from GTD Pro to drive their GTD entry this year. AWA is downsizing from 2 entries to 1. Marvin Kirchhofer is the sole new driver to the 13 Corvette. Vander Stoer Racing will field the 19 Aston Martin. Vander Stoer plans to take part in the endurance rounds of the calendar. AF Corsa will add a second entry, with the 50 joining their returning 21 Ferrari. AF Corsa returns half their lineup on the 21, with Cazzoloni and Mann. Satilla Racing will field the 47 Ferrari with an all-Italian lineup. Heart of Racing team will field an Aston Martin GTD alongside their GTD Pro entry. Rabakin is the only returning driver. Korthoff Preston Motorsports returns their 32 Mercedes. Gotts and Cook return alongside newcomers Lucas and Morad. The 34 GTD entry will be a Ferrari entered by Conquest Racing. Sarah and Alto are new to Conquest, with Sir Barozzuli and Franco returning to the American team. DXDT Racing will make their IMSA debut with their 36 Corvette. Magnus Racing will not only return with their 44 Aston Martin, but they will also return their entire driver lineup. Wayne Taylor Racing is downsizing from 2 cars to 1 and is also ending their Andretti partnership. They will field the 45 Lamborghini. 3 of the 4 drivers return, with Trent Hindman being the only new driver to the team. The 57 Mercedes of Windward Racing will be back on track, along with 3 of their drivers from 2024, with Lucas Orr joining the team for 2025. Gradient Racing will be the only Ford in GTD, fielding their 66 Mustang. This is a change from 2024 when they fielded an Acura. Tatiana Calderon is the only returning driver. Joey Hand moves down from Ford's factory program in GTD Pro to drive in GTD. Inception will move on from McLaren to Ferrari, fielding the 70 Ferrari 296 GT3. David Faminelli joins the team, replacing Tom Gamble. Lamborghini and Forte Racing will partner up with the 78 entry with an almost completely new lineup, with only Misha Goikerberg returning. Scott Andrews is the only returning driver to Lone Star Racing and their 80 Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Aaron Figueres and Knox are new to Lone Star. Iron Dames is back with Porsche in the 83, along with Boivy, Frey, Gadding, and then Gallard replaces Dorian Pan. Turner Motorsports is back in GTD with the lone BMW entry. They return their entire lineup. Wright Motorsports wraps up GTD with their numbered 120 Porsche 911 GT3R. The Americans of Adelson and Skier return, joining them as newcomers. To the team is Guvin and Sargent. 24 Hours of Daytona will feature 235 drivers from 31 countries. This is up from 30 from the previous year. 57 drivers are from the United States, 27 are from the UK, 19 from Italy, 16 of the drivers are French, 14 of them are German, 12 are from Canada and Denmark each. American drivers lead the LMP2, GTD, and GTD Pro classes, while UK drivers lead the GTP class with the most drivers. The United States, the UK, Denmark, Brazil, Australia, and the Netherlands all have drivers in all 4 classes. GT cars will now feature torque sensors to aid in the balance of performance. These were first introduced in 2023 on the GTP cars. These torque sensors were then added to the GT3 cars in the FIA World Endurance Championship last year, with Mercedes being the only current IMSA manufacturer to have not used them on their GT cars previously. Under full course yellows this year, GTD and GTD Pro cars will be separated for restarts. I'm personally not a fan of the changes to the Daytona chicane. This is going to be harder to spot, especially at night and or in rain. It's no longer self-policing with the grass as before, and the more aggressive curbs can and probably will cause unnecessary damage to cars that go over them. I would also like to see more variety in the IMSA schedule going forward, not just the same races at the same tracks. But at the same time, there are also classics that are important to protect, so this is definitely something that needs a balance of both. But I think doing the same races at the same tracks every year is not great for keeping fans interested and grabbing attention of new fans. If there's interest going forward, I'm considering actually doing previews for each IMSA round and even potentially adding my track previews like I usually do for new tracks. I don't usually preview each race in a series, but I feel like it works well for IMSA with the schedule so small and spread out, along with the changes to teams and drivers from race to race. So if this is something that you're interested in, let me know down in the comments so I know that people actually want to see it. Now, you've heard from me. What do you think about the 2025 IMSA season? Let me know what do you think down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and until next time, so long, everybody.